We'll begin with a moment of silence, followed by a pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'll have my executive assistant, Anne-Marie Grill, read the public comment policy.
Thank you, Commissioner Linebuck. Public comment will be accepted in person and through the Q&A function. Please include your first name, last name, and municipality for all comments. Any comments without name and municipality will not be considered. Each citizen can submit one comment. Comment length is dictated by limitations of the platform being used, Teams Q&A, Facebook, YouTube. In-person comments will be accepted first, followed by comments submitted virtually. The meeting comment period is limited to a total of 30 minutes, including both in-person and virtual comments. This time period may be extended at the discretion of the board. Please be concise. Comments that are germane to county business will be read during the meeting and should not be considered to be interactive dialogue with the commissioners. The county solicitor shall be the final arbiter of whether a comment is germane and should be read. Any commissioner response to public comment will be done at the discretion of the commissioners.
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. Are there any additions or corrections for the August 1st meeting minutes? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. There's no public comment on agenda items in person. There's also none online. So we will move right into our agenda. Item 1, authorizing under that budget. Adopt a resolution authorizing 2024 appropriations in the amount of $96,610 per listing dated August the 2nd of 2024. Under purchasing, one item, adopt a resolution authorizing a recommendation to award and further authorizing the Director of Contracts and Procurement to execute as a result of an invitation to bid a contract for repairs to Berks County Road Bridge, Berkeley Road Bridge project is identified herein. It goes to the JVI Group out of York Springs, Pennsylvania. Total bid amount is not to exceed $304,827. Several items listed under Human Resources. Item 1, authorize the appointment of Maria Lager to Manager, Register of Wills Office, effective August the 14th. Item 2, authorize the appointment of Andrew Brakebill to Enterprise Support Technician, Information Systems. Item 3, authorize the promotion of Brandon Nemeth from Sergeant to Lieutenant at the jail. One item listed under Commissioner Rivera, adopt a resolution authorizing the appointment of Pamela Mennett, Mountain, Pennsylvania, to the Berks County Housing Authority for an unexpired term ending December 31st of 2026. There are several items listed under the commissioners. Item A, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair and Kevin S. Barnhart, Chief Operations Officer, to execute the Election Integrity Grant Program contract between the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania through the Department of Community and Economic Development and the Berks County Commissioners, as well as any and all additional grant-related documents providing grant money for the administration of elections pursuant to Act 88 of 2022. Item B, authorize and approve the following dates for town hall meetings of the Board of Commissioners. These are for 2025. I'm not going to read through all of them, but they are January, February, March, April, May. We skip June, July, and August, then September, October, and November. I want to thank Stephanie Williams our director of the Berks County Library System, for her work on this, along with the various local libraries that are hosting these town halls. Item C, adopt a resolution authorizing the chair to execute an amendment to the lease agreement between the Berks County Nonprofit Development Corporation and County of Berks, authorizing construction management fees of $50,000. Item D, adopt a resolution authorizing a letter of support for Spring Township's Loop Trail submission to the Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program. This program aims to connect the Penn State Berks campus with a pedestrian bridge under Route 222. Item E, adopt a resolution authorizing a letter of support for the Schuylkill River Greenways grant application to the National Endowment for the Arts, Our Town grant program to contribute to a public workshopping process and the preliminary design and engineering phases of their Reading Gateway Art Bridge project. Item 2, motion to authorize the execution of contract agreements and amendments as set forth in the contract agenda listing dated August the 5th of 2024. There are a total of 21 contracts. There are 6 with the Area Agency on Aging, 1 with the Berksheim, 1 with Career Link, 2 with Children and Youth Services, 2 jointly with Children and Youth Services and Juvenile Probation, 1 with the Coroner's Office, 1 with Facilities and Operations, 1 with Information Systems, 2 with the Berks County Jail, 3 with Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities, and 1 with the Solicitor's Office. Item 3, a motion to authorize execution of the payments and electronic transfers for the week ending August the 9th of 2024. 4, motion to authorize execution of employee payroll disbursements dated August the 13th of 2024.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I will second that motion. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. We'll move now to reports of our treasurer and controller. We'll begin with our county treasurer, Mitch Darcourt. Mitch.
Thank you, Commissioner. Today we have an opening balance of $275,966,893.22. We have a balance to clear of $4,572,229.11, leaving us with a balance of $271,394,664.11. That is all, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Joe Rutterow is not here today. In his absence, his deputy, Nicole Grozna, is here. Grozna, Controller's Report.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
The disbursements for week ending 8/9/2024 totaled $9,356,330.13, and those comprised of various wires and checks that were issued to the outside vendors. Also, there was a payroll approved for next week in the amount of $5,179,577.10. So that's for next week's payroll.
Thank you very much. We'll move now to Chief Operations Officer Report, Kevin Barnhart.
Thank you, Commissioner Leinbach. We want to say that Larry and I enjoyed ourselves at the CCAP annual conference. We found it very productive, and we are really appreciative of CCAP allowing us to have an hour with the chief clerks and administrators to discuss topics of importance to us. So we really appreciate the ability. We had 15 folks at the meeting on Tuesday morning. We then bypassed and went up to Bellefonte near State College to look at a 5-county regional youth detention center to get some ideas and concepts from them. We met with their deputy director, Carly, for almost 2 hours and brought back an awful lot of valuable information as we move forward. So
Great.
It's a productive trip all around. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we will move to commissioners' reports, and we'll begin with Commissioner Rivera.
Thank you, Commissioner Lineback. Just want to remind everyone this Saturday, August the 10th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. is the Berks Community Health Center Community Day, and it will be held at their 838 Penn Street location. There will be free health screenings, music, fun, information booth, refreshments, giveaways, and more. So hopefully, if it's outside, the weather will allow us to have that. Again, that is this Sunday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at 828 Penn Street, and it is the Berks Community Health Center Community Day. Also, the National Night Out here in Reading was rescheduled from this Tuesday due to the weather to this coming Wednesday, the 14th, from 5 to 8 p.m. in the 400 to 500 blocks of Penn Street. So if you're not able to make it last week because of the weather, please feel free to join them this Wednesday. There will be free parking at the 4th and Cherry Garage, so no one has to worry about parking that day. And then this coming Thursday on the 15th is the Fightin' Phil's, the 3rd annual Recovery Awareness Night. And that is put together by the SOS Berks Coalition as well as the Council on Chemical Abuse, and there will be information and resources on recovery. So if you know of anyone that would like to go to that game, you can reach out to either the Council on Chemical Abuse or to my office, and we can get coordinate to get some tickets for you for that game. Also, this past Saturday through yesterday, all three of us were at the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania annual conference in Gettysburg. As well as Christine, our solicitor, she was there, and Kevin and Larry were there for 2 of the days as well. A lot of good things going on there. Just a brief overview of what happened on Sunday morning, starting at 7:30. We had our board meeting, which ran to almost 1 p.m. Different items were discussed. There's 4 board meetings a year. This was the 3rd one for the year. Then after that, at 4 p.m., our exhibit hall opened up. And then there was a dinner reception that we were invited to, and we had the opportunity to hear Abe Lincoln speak. So that was really interesting. It was at a museum there and visitor center that was just recently opened about 3 years ago, right?
A year and a half.
A year and a half ago. Tons of history there. I know Commissioner Lineback is going to talk about one of the things that the exhibits that they have there at the museum, but really, really good to learn about the history. Where it's located at is in part of the Gettysburg battlefield. So he was explaining that right where that is located at, there were people under there that fought and died for our nation. So really, really a good experience. On Monday morning, we had our opening session in which we went through the updated CCAP values. We also had a NACO board update from Commissioner Lineback and Commissioner Hartwick from Dauphin County, who are the 2 representatives from Pennsylvania to the National Association of Counties Board. And then we had a keynote speaker who spoke on leading imperfectly, the value of being authentic leaders. He used comedy for his keynote, but really some really good information that he brought out there about being authentic and just understanding that each and every one of us has our own different little quirks and imperfections. So we have to learn to accept those and how to be leaders with those. A lot of times we look at leaders or want leaders to be perfect and to do everything right, when there's nothing further than the reality that everyone, including leaders, have their imperfections and their quirks. So that was a great keynote. We also had the opportunity to meet. There were 83 exhibitors there. I'm not going to say I met with all 83 of them, but hopefully through all of us that were there, we met with a lot of them, but there were a lot of great exhibitors there. Then in the afternoon on Monday, we had the Resolutions and Policy Committee meeting. There were other meetings going on, but I know Commissioner Lineback and I and Commissioner Santoni, I believe, attended the Resolutions and Policy Committee meeting, which is where they go over the resolutions that will be presented the following day, as well as any bylaws that are being considered at the conference. Then after that, we had our district meeting where we re-elected our district representative, which is Lori Bargo Hefner from the Northampton County, and she is the district representative for District 6. Then that night we had a conference-wide event at the Gettysburg National Military Park Museum and Visitor Center, where again, this was a conference-wide event. Abe Lincoln was there as well speaking. Wonderful museum there, and there's a 360-degree, it's not a picture, what would you call it?
Cyclorama.
It's a cyclorama, and it was from the 1800s, correct? He's the history buff, so that's why I asked him. But it's from the 1800s, and it's there, and they have it. So it's set up there, but there's also some effects that they put into it, and they talk about the war and so forth. Again, really interesting. In Gettysburg, there's a lot of great museums if you ever want to go learn more about our history and that important battle. On Tuesday morning, we had our annual business meeting where we voted on the resolutions and the county platform, among other things. In the PM, we took a tour of the battlefields. And in the evenings, we had our awards dinner. There were 7 different awards given out that night to different people throughout the county based on their work. That night is also the President's Award, where I have the opportunity to give an award who I feel would be a good representative of CCAP and that has been of support to me throughout my tenure at CCAP. I selected Commissioner Leinbach. He's even before elected, he said, when elected, you have to join CCAP. You have to go to their new members award. So he's a great supporter of CCAP and the National Association of Counties, apart from the fact that he's been a great support to me as well during my time in CCAP and my time as a commissioner as well. So I felt it appropriate to present him with the President's Award that night. And his wife was there as well. And I think it goes to her also because of their support. As you know, last year, the elections were very, very tough, and that affects your family as well. And his wife was of great support to my wife during that time as well. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Also, I gave an award to one of our sponsors, CS McKee, who has been a great supporter of CCAP for the last 20 years. And they were the ones who also sponsored that countywide event on Monday night. And they've been doing that for 10 years. Also, I want to let you know that we did nominate the Kevlar team for the County Administrative Award, but they were not selected. But based on their work, we did feel that they should be nominated. And we also nominated Christine Sadler as the Outstanding Solicitor of the Year Award either. She did not get selected, but based on her hard work and dedication to the county, we felt it was appropriate to nominate her as well. And I do see Jonathan here. So Jonathan helped put those nominations together. So Jonathan, thank you for doing that. And thank you to Jesse and Britt for helping also provide that information without them knowing about it. So thank you. And then after that, we had the cake and karaoke night presented by 2 of our sponsors there. I did not sing. That is definitely not my forte, but we did have Commissioner Leinbach, who did about 4 songs, right?
3 or 4 songs.
At least 3 or 4 songs, along with other members that were there. So we had a great night at cake and karaoke. Then Wednesday morning, we had a breakout session in the morning, and then we had our closing session. In the closing session, we heard from Department of Community and Economic Development Secretary Rick Seigert, in which they spoke about the development plan that he has put together and opened it up for questions from the public, which was really great. Because, you know, it's not always when you have the opportunity to ask the secretary of one of the departments directed questions directly to him. He answered the questions very honestly. If he didn't know, he said he didn't know. If he did, he provided the information. Then we also had a presentation from Secretary Laurel Harry, who is the Department of Corrections. Also a great presentation there, sharing information about the Department of Corrections, what they're doing, and hopefully things that they're doing will help out in our jails as well. Then we had two other presenters on one, elections information and marketing material around elections. So a lot of great information at the conference, a lot of opportunity also to meet some new vendors. I will say that Commissioner Linebuck and Christine walked out with most of the prize drawings. I think they each got at least 3, if not 4.
Got 3.
How many did you get?
She got 4.
Christine got 4, you got 3.
3.
You got 1, you got
Larry
1, I got none. I was not selected for any of the prize drawing, but at least I got.
That's called a clue.
But I did get on the awards night recognition, and I did get my gift basket there. So at least I walked out with something, but not anywhere close to Christina and Commissioner Linebuck. And my last item is there is no elections meeting today. And with that, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Rivera. I'll note this. I've occasionally pointed this out. I came from the private sector and advertising, and whenever we went to a conference, we were required, even I was in a leadership position, to take notes, come back, and provide 2 to 5 takeaways. And if you didn't do that, they weren't sending you to another conference. And I agree with that. The value of going to conferences, while I enjoyed the historical nature, it's coming back with content that can help your organization. So I have notes for every conference all the way back to actually the newly electeds in the fall of 2007. But that's what I do my takeaways from. So what I'm going to share, before I talk about the battlefield, I want to share some of the big takeaways for me. In the board meeting on Sunday, in the solicitor's report, there were 2 very interesting items impacting elections. Once again, there's litigation on undated ballots, trying to say that the date doesn't matter. I cannot emphasize enough. The governor and the legislature need to resolve this issue. As long as the language remains as it is, somewhat ambiguous, it simply says shall be signed and dated, doesn't say what the date should be. We're going to continue to have this debate back and forth. The legislation or the law needs to be cleaned up because counties are just kicked back and forth. Does it have to be dated? Does it not have to be dated? Right now, the current law is the outside envelope must be dated, and it is up to the county what that date range is. The end date is election day, but the starting date directly correlates with when the county first sends out the first ballot. So that varies differently from county to county. The second issue is, in my mind, even more troubling. There are 2 court cases that have been decided, and they are somewhat in conflict. I don't know who the challengers were, but these were right-to-know requests to access the in-person ballots. And in that particular case, the courts in Pennsylvania ruled that the ballots or the image of the ballots are not subject to right to know. Now, that makes sense. One of the things to keep in mind, there are many small precincts. And if you would be able to figure out potentially in a group like New Morgan Borough has what, 12 voters? So, but the courts ruled, and I agree with that. Those are not subject to the right to know. We do not want ballots to be able to be looked at. But in a separate right to know, for the mail-in and absentee ballots, the courts ruled that they are subject to right to know requests and images. Not the physical ballot, but images of the ballot It's troubling because I can tell you what's going to happen. You're going to end up with people now having not half, would probably be 70% maybe of the votes cast, looking at them and coming up with all types of explanations of an election. I've not seen this ever before, but that's a case that is going on. We discussed that. We also have reached out to the Department of State, the Secretary of the Commonwealth, asking for a message to the courts regarding potential delay of printing ballots based on court challenges. We've talked about this before. There is apparently no legislative solution to this because of separation of powers, and that makes sense, other than to say to the courts, please don't delay your decisions on who is or is not going to be allowed on the ballot, because that delay, and among the board, there was pretty strong agreement that, in fact, I don't know any county on the board that sends their ballots out hoping that they're right. But there are counties that do that because they want to get the ballot out early. And if it's ruled they have a name on there that has to be pulled off, then they have to go back and correct that. But that continues to be a problem. It's been a problem for the last several election cycles. Another big takeaway. On Tuesday morning, I sat in a workshop on regional public safety. Snyder County Commissioner Joe Kantz presented. Snyder County several years ago merged their 911 operation with Union County. And they actually also do, through contract, 911 services for northern Northumberland County. Talked about the entire process, saved them almost double what they anticipated it would save them. As you can imagine, some of the biggest criticism in the beginning when they were thinking about it is somebody from Union County isn't going to know where things are in Snyder County and vice versa. And the reality is, with the technology today, that just simply isn't true. And that's ended up to be a non-issue. MCM was the consultant on this, and interestingly enough, PEMA paid for the consultant to do the study. It did not obligate Snyder or Union County to take this on, but in the end, they did follow the consultant's recommendation. Additionally, this is an entirely independent system. The employees are not employees of either county. They're employees of this new independent system, and they're fully funded through the fee. Where these organizations operating separately did not have enough revenue to operate through the 911 fee, by merging and the efficiencies they were able to secure. An example is, for their system, a phone switch for 911 is about $500,000. Each of them were paying for a phone switch. And there's a number of items like that. By merging all of those things together, there's significant savings. It is run by a joinder board, which it's not an authority. It's different. And the joinder board is composed of the 3 commissioners from each county. The Northumberland County simply contracts for 911 services in the northern part of the county. Anybody guess what their biggest hurdle was? It wasn't the public.
Staffing.
No. Their biggest hurdle were fire companies. Fire companies initially were very much opposed to this. They were concerned people weren't going to understand their fire company versus a fire company in a different county. They saw that early on and spent a significant amount of time meeting with the fire companies, explaining what they were doing, answering their questions. That was one of the biggest piece of advice was, if you consider this, you need to talk to your fire companies first. Both counties donated all of their 911 assets to the effort. So at the end of the day, the question is, so where did the new 911 center, where was it located? It was located in Snyder County. Snyder County had the newest facility and had the best redundancy when it came to power, when it came to fiber. And so that's where it was. But that building and all the equipment that they had was donated by Snyder County to the joinder, and Union County did the same thing. So if there was something they didn't use, they were able to sell it, and it benefited the joinder. Very, very good. It's something that we're not, and so let me back up. I was impressed with the regionalization, the cooperation, the ingenuity that they used. I am not recommending today that we begin a merger with the surrounding 911 county, although I think it's something that's coming in the not too distant future across the Commonwealth. When I saw the numbers that these two relatively small counties are saving, it is significant. So it's something worth looking at. One additional thing, we're going through EMS challenges here, and Pike County discussed a plan that they took on, a matching grant plan for EMS through the municipalities. Again, I'm not going to go into detail, but very impressed with the ingenuity. In both of these cases, they were addressing issues that to a certain degree, we as county leaders have been looking to the state to solve. And in both cases, their frustration kind of overflowed and said, you know what, we need to stop looking to the state to fix this. What can we do to fix these situations? Both of these were very, very impressive with what they did. One of the quotes from, and I forget which commissioner in Pike County said this, he said the system wasn't, and talking about EMS, the system wasn't broken, it was broke. They had 2 EMS ambulance services left in all of Pike County. I didn't realize this. No hospitals, no urgent care centers. There were not a lot of options. Today, they have 12 ambulances operating, and they are fully engaged through their local municipalities. Last thing before I talk a little bit about the history, Penn State Extension spoke yesterday morning, and they did a project jointly with CCAP, creating an election guide for citizens. It's something, Jonathan, I am hopeful that we can put up and share. But I just want to take, let me go here. I'm not going to go through it, but it's something that I was very impressed. It is extremely well thought out, talks about the law, the role of county governments, the role of the General Assembly, the role of the Department of State, all the different securities and protections. It's a very good document. It cites sources so people can go on, and the online document literally link to those sources. Talks about local election board positions, clerk and machines, and election boards are change out based on the year. But some very, very good information. And I want to give special thanks to Penn State. I actually didn't know that Penn State got involved in things like this. But again, it's a very good document, something that we can share. Very quickly, the Gettysburg experience was pretty incredible. I've been there many times through my life. I could talk for a long time. I'm not going to do that, but I want to share a couple things. We did a tour Tuesday afternoon, a battlefield tour, and it was pretty incredible to listen to the guide. The guide that we had has been there almost 30 years. He knows everything inside and out. One of the places we went to is Little Round Top. That's this area here. It probably was the most consequential battle of the entire Gettysburg battle that occurred over 3 days. What made this significant, A, is the high ground, and I encourage you, if you've been there before, go again. I was there in 2018, and this has been reopened about a month ago. It's been cleared to where it is the way it was during the battle. A lot of trees had grown up before, and there were people had created trails through the woods that didn't have any meaning, and there was a lot of, you would get confused. When you looked at it, this is the high point here. It's the main signal station. But if you remember anything about this, Warren was the commander up here. Vincent was the commander here. Chamberlain is here all the way at the end with the 20th Maine. Vincent was shot, I believe killed, and that's what forced the 20th Maine to come onto the hill. The 20th Maine, towards the latter part of the battle, ran out of ammunition completely. And the Confederates were trying to make a move from Big Round Top down here on the flank. And Chamberlain was given the order, do not give any ground. You must hold at all costs. He's out of ammunition. And as they were coming down, the Confederates charged. His group up here actually did a hinge motion, fixed bayonets, and held the line. If this line didn't hold, the Confederates would have come right across the top. And most of the historians believe Gettysburg would have been a Confederate victory. We get caught up with Pickett's charge, and was a significant event. After that, Robert E. Lee fled under the cover of storms that occurred that night into July 4th. But this is a pretty amazing occurrence, and I happen to believe in Providence. I don't think it was an accident. The other, and again, there's a lot that I could talk about. There's one other thing I want to highlight, and that is the brand new museum. This museum is the Adams County Historical Society. On the first day of the battle, the Union, actually before the battles, the Union was convinced Lee was heading towards Washington. So they took their troops and put a blocking motion in Virginia, very close to Washington, but Lee kept going up, and he used the Blue Mountains as cover and went up into Pennsylvania. And actually, Lee is coming in to the Gettysburg area from the north and the west, which, if you think about it, and when the Union armies realized what was happening, they ended up rushing up from the south. So you actually, in Gettysburg, have the Union troops coming from the south and the Confederate troops coming from the north and the west. Buford has a small contingent of maybe 2,500 soldiers, and he engages the Confederates, and they are pushed back through the town of Gettysburg. Gettysburg only had about 2,400 residents at the time. At the Adams County Historical Society, they've created a house, and you can go in that house and deal with the experience that the citizens dealt with. I recorded part of this. I asked permission, to record and to show it today. But as the Union forces were retreating through the town of Gettysburg, they yelled to the citizens, "Get in your house, get in your basements." And 2 civilians ended up becoming part of the story. One, and I don't have her name, she was the only civilian shot and killed. She was in a house, and a bullet came through the house and hit her in the back of the neck, and she was killed instantly. The other is a man by the name of John Berks. John Berks was 63 years old. He's the only civilian to fight at Gettysburg. He was so ticked off, he grabbed his musket from the War of 1812 and ran out to the battlefield and was wounded 3 times, but kept fighting. When Abraham Lincoln came to Gettysburg later that year to dedicate the cemetery, one of the people he asked to see and talk to was John Berks. Very fascinating. But what the Adams County Historical Society has done, they've recreated the experience of being in the house. Now, we're on the first floor of the house. The noises that you're going to hear are either soldiers outside running or the family underneath us in the basement. So hopefully you get some sense of what this is like. I found it, my wife and I were in this room, found it very, very moving. And those are bullet holes coming through the walls.
What you can't hear clearly, but you can kind of hear it in the background, is the family that's in the basement talking and wondering what's going on, what's going to happen, and so forth. Yeah.
So I will stop sharing. Sometimes the most significant history is in our backyard, and a lot of people aren't aware of it. And I would encourage people that haven't to go out to Gettysburg, tour the battlefield. It is the largest battle, I believe, that's ever occurred in the Western Hemisphere. Sheer number of men involved in both sides. There were over 52,000 casualties, over almost 7,000 killed. Just pretty incredible. One other place we also went to was the seminary. And the seminary is where Buford first sees. And Buford, if you ever seen the movie Gettysburg, it is very accurate. It's a great, great movie. Buford is up in the cupola of the Lutheran seminary. And actually, we were up there. They showed, and I'm aware some historians say he never went up there, but there is an eyewitness, another soldier, that talks about him being up there. And supposedly, when he was told the Confederates are coming, he was up in the cupola and his words were, "They'll be hell to pay." But then they ended up retreating. But what he did was buy time. He bought time because at that point, the Army of the Potomac was still moving up, and Buford, they were regulars. This is the other thing. The Confederates had bad intel. They believed that the only soldiers protecting Gettysburg were local militia. They did not know that there were actual Union regulars there. So check it out. Amazing part of our American history. And I was so glad that they were there. I don't know if you want to, you don't have to, but I know you and I were on the, well, actually all three of us were on the tour. Anything you want to share?
I would just echo your comments that I'd been there numerous times, and it was a much different experience this time with having the professional guide on the tour. They gave you a different perspective. I had the opportunity to visit with some family members there, and when I told my uncle that I was up in the cupola, he was very jealous because he said that is a unique experience that not a lot of people get to experience. So it was definitely a very interesting afternoon.
Pretty incredible. So with that, any comments from our row officers?
I don't have anything at this time, Commissioner.
Thank you.
No comments.
And any public comment? Right. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
The meeting stands adjourned.